Welcome to Prophet Doctor TV. This is your host, John Patrick. Over the next several weeks, perhaps several months, we're going to spend time talking about leadership. You know, that's an overrated term sometimes, and it's certainly a misused term. So what I'd like to do is really just spend time breaking that down and coming up with several fundamental truths in regards to leadership. You know, one of the dictionaries anyway that I looked at defines leadership as to guide others on a course of direction. You know, John Maxwell has a great analogy when it comes to leadership, in that he talks about for you to be a leader, someone has to be a follower, and not meaning that people should fall in one or the other categories. But if you're a leader, there's got to be somebody that cares enough about the direction that you're taking that are willing to follow. So if you look around and find that no one's following you, that could be a sign that you're not a leader. Doesn't mean you're not capable of it, but at least at this point in time, they haven't rallied behind your cause and they haven't decided to take the direction that you've taken. So we're going to walk through that, of how you can develop those skills and identify those truths that will in fact prove themselves to be true regarding leadership. You know, at some point in our life, we all take that role. It doesn't mean that you have to be a natural born leader, so to speak, nor does it mean that you are in a position where you're leading constantly. However, there are times, opportunities in life where you have the opportunity to sit back or the opportunity to step forward. So our goal, my goal, is to help you when those opportunities present themselves, for you to be able to take charge of your life and take charge of that situation and be able to lead yourself and others forward. You know, the last thing in closing on this introductory session is, again, an analogy that I was taught years ago. And if you imagine a table, it could be a square table, round table, really doesn't matter. And you imagine that laying on that table is a piece of yarn that's, say, 2 feet long. And if you were to take that piece of yarn, put it in the center of the table in a straight line, and then challenge someone to move that yarn from the middle of the table until to the edge of the table, while that piece of yarn remains in a straight line, and one of or the other of the edges of that straight line touches now the edge of the table. And in order to do that, your first challenge is to do it by taking your finger on one end of the piece of yarn and pushing it. What would the result be? Well, obviously, you wouldn't be able to move the yarn straight forward as it is if you were pushing it. What would ultimately happen as soon as you start to push it is it would start to curl. However, if you were to take that same piece of yarn and put your finger on one end of it and pull it towards the end of the table on a straight line, it would remain in a straight line. And those are the characteristics of a leader, is not pushing people into decisions or habits or behaviors, but rather pulling them along with you, taking them with you on the journey. In doing that, you're able to find that people will fall in line, so to speak. But at the same time, a lot of other neat things will happen. And so we're going to explore those over the next few weeks. So would you join me as we begin an adventure together in exactly what is leadership and what are the truths, fundamental truths in leadership. Until next time, this is your host, John Patrick, your Prophet Doctor. Take 2 doses of cash flow and call me in the morning.